Welcome to Werther's original Werthering waves, where we wave at our Werthers. Player's voice, by the way. A lot of people mad about that, I've seen. And yeah, so I'm going to do some weekly reclears for, I think it's just gateways, which is kind of like the chill, easy content. So I'm good with that. Okay, Whimpering doesn't reset till next week, and what about Tower? Yeah, that doesn't reset for 3 weeks. Yep. So, I guess there's not really too much to wait on. I've pretty much done most of the content. I got Cantarella, so now I finally have a full Havoc team. I'm still working on getting her decent echoes. I'm like having a hard time rolling good subs. Also, I found out after I rolled this that I probably want the Havoc Eclipse set instead of Midnight Veil for her, since she's on a Frolova Rochia team. And she's kind of going to be acting as the onboard driver, because you basically want to have Frolova offboard using her alt. Rochia is just there to basically provide grouping and quick buff. So, in a team like that, I think Cantarella probably serves as the onboard for maybe not as much time as Frolova, but like relatively close is my guess. I don't really know. I don't really understand the team that well because they haven't fully had it for that long. But I don't have her SIG. I don't think I'm going to pull for her SIG. I just have like a generic 5-star weapon. But I think that's fine, because I also want to save some, if I can, for Cardathia's SIG, since that's like one of my main go-to teams. And then I'll have like 3 teams with really built driver units with their SIGs. I'll have, you know, Augusta and Augusta SIG, Cardathia SIG, Zani SIG, and Phoebe, obviously. I've got Phoebe for Zani. So, yeah, this is just like a little bonus team that I kind of put together. Eventually, I'd like to also do Galbrenna, but whatever.
Feel the time in to sunken depths. Oh, this will be fun.
Alright, so let's find out what the fucking Somnoir is. Electro bonus. Okay, so I'm just gonna... I kind of want to... I did get Buling, and Buling looks really interesting, but I am completely burnt on resources to actually build characters at this point. I actually have not even enough tuners to do 1 tune on an Echo. And, yeah, it's rough. It's the rough life, because you don't get that many relative to, like, the number of Echoes you can farm. You just don't get that many tuners. I would like to actually build Calcharo at some point. It would be really cool. But he's just kind of chilling. She's really cool. She applies off-board Electro Flare, but I don't have resources to build her right now. So we're just going to go with, you know, our typical Augusta, you know. We don't really need a 3rd unit, but I guess I'll throw in... Nah, Chisa doesn't make sense there. Let's just throw in Verena. Would that be... Yeah, Verena seems fair. Actually, we don't even need... I mean, they literally are a self-sufficient team without any 3rd unit. So, I guess we'll just do that. I think Shield is the way to go for this team.
Honor cannot be silent.
yeah, this is like just, especially for, I mean, at this point my account is, I would say as built as a whale account. I'm not going to say I'm a whale, but I haven't spent nothing either. Let's put it that way. But, yeah, like, even if I had spent nothing, I would probably have 3 meta teams at this point that all had, like, SIG and stuff like that. I also did get a bit lucky, this banner, and didn't need to, like, I got SIG, I got, Chisa, I got Chisa's SIG, and then I also got Phoebe's SIG. Without spending anything this patch, without using gems from previous purchases or anything, just got super lucky. It was nice. I really appreciate that the weapon banners are just, you do 80 pulls, you get the weapon you're pulling for. I mean, it's great. Yeah. I don't know, it just makes me think about all of the people that I've seen whinging about gacha systems on Twitter, and it's like, I don't like gacha either, really. I don't. Oh, what the fuck, man. Did I just... I might as well just reset this. Or wait, no, I haven't even been to the rest floor, so it's fine. I just totally wasn't paying attention there. But yeah, like, all the people whinging about, like, oh my god, how could a gacha game win? They shouldn't be allowed to blah blah blah. Gacha games are all dog shit, blah blah blah. Fucking retards who have no idea what they're talking about. It's just insane. Like, I don't like the gacha monetization system either. But the game is so good that I still play it anyway. Like, and I had this debate with somebody, this argument. And I mean, you could rip the gacha system out of this tomorrow and replace it with, like, oh yeah, you just pay X amount of dollars and you get the character. It's not even, there's no rolling, you just buy the character. And everything that makes people want to play this game would stay exactly the same and be perfectly fine. And it would still be incredible. In fact, it would arguably be better because, like, then you would just have access to the characters you want to play whatever team you want, right? And you would still have to, like, invest in those characters in the sense that you would have to level them up and build them and choose which echo sets to use and what team comp to play them with. But... and it's like, you could argue, like, oh yeah, it would change how they approach their monetization strategies, how they approach their marketing, and that's all true. But, like, fundamentally, if you ripped the system out of the game tomorrow, nothing about what already exists would need to change. You could rip the entire gacha system out, and nothing else would need to change, and all the existing content would still be, like, incredibly good. In fact, like I said, it would arguably be enhanced by the fact that now you have, you know, whatever team diversity you want at your disposal. Just, if you're just willing. And the thing that people don't understand, and this is the thing, right? They say, oh my god, it's gacha, it's gambling. If you're going for a 5-star, you're not gambling. You are, and hear me out, you're not gambling if you're willing to spend the $450 to guarantee a unit. Now, I know that's a wild take, like, oh, $450 for a character, yeah, that's totally reasonable. No, it's not reasonable. That's why I hate the gacha system. Because it masks that behind a layer of obfuscation. So I do dislike it. I do hate it. But, like, that is the truth. And the reality is, with the pulls you get for free from playing the game and etc., it's not actually going to be that much. Now, if you're going for, like, sequences, Which I don't think there's really... Here's a hot take. I don't think there's a reason to pull for sequences. Like, people do it for more damage, whatever. None of the limited units on this account have even one sequence. The only 5 stars that have a sequence... Well, unless Buling's going to be limited forever... Then, like, yeah, I think I have, like, sequence 1. But she's a 4-star, right? Different thing. But, like, there's no reason to pull for sequences. You don't need it for the end game. You know, and you could argue, oh, well, maybe they'll make a shill tower where you do eventually. Okay, right now, me, with my... Okay, I can't even look at the map. But you saw earlier, me with my, like, mid-skill at best, right, has cleared all of the endgame content with entirely every single limited unit that I have, no sequences, and at best, there are 1 sig. Like, just the sig. No buffs to the sig. No copies of the sig. And that's if I even have the SIG. Many of my sub-DPS are just using 4-star free weapons. I literally haven't even used the Battle Pass weapon chest. I just have... If I don't have the SIG for a character, I'm just using literally a free item that I got from just free in-game pulls. That's it. And I'm able to fully clear all the content. Now, like, I will admit, I did get lucky and got Chisa and, you know, got good pulls during the anniversary last year when they had the extra banner, the, like, choice banner running. So, like, you know, it's somewhere in between a free-to-play and like a whale account. It's, I'd say, pretty average. You know, I've been playing this game for, what, 2 years now, and not even halfway to $1,000. And, you know, that some people might say, oh, that's a huge shock. Well, use your brain for a second and think about how much money you've spent on a sub fee if you play something like WoW or FF in 2 years. That's $15 a month times 12. That's like, what, 180 times 2? That's $360. That's how much you've spent just in sub fee. Now, if you also buy microtransactions from their shop, things like that, well, you've probably spent more in the last 2 years on the game of your choice than I have on this one. Just straight up. And that's not advocacy for gacha. I still think it's bad. I am very miserly when it comes to my spending. Right? So, somebody who doesn't have good impulse control definitely should not play these. Definitely not. Because it's even gotten me, who is a super miser who does not spend money, to spend money. I will acknowledge that. But at the same time, I'm so tired of these people who just pretend that, you know, it's a gacha shit game. Every gacha game is just a bad piece of shit game that hooks people by its gambling mechanics. No. People wouldn't start playing the game if there weren't good things about the game to get them... Like, who is gonna... What do you think is going to happen? Somebody's going to pick up a game that's bad, and it's a piece of shit, and they hate everything about it. And they're like, oh my god, this game is so bad, and it sucks in every way. Yeah, let me spend a bunch of money on it. Are you a retard? Or are you just being dishonest? You know, like, it just makes me so annoyed when people say that shit. It's like, you think people are picking up a game that is a bad experience that they don't enjoy and then just deciding to dump thousands of dollars into it? No. Absolutely not. That's not reality. That's... If you think that, you're an idiot and you don't understand anything. Are there people that play the game and they don't enjoy it, and then they get like a limited unit and all of a sudden they're having fun? Sure. But that's like, you wouldn't get that far if you didn't enjoy something about the game. Like, I didn't get a limited unit until like so I started playing the game on release, like 1.x. And I played it on and off. I was a Genshin player. And I basically stopped playing after like the first patch. And then I came back for 2.0. And then I didn't get an actual limited unit until the first Rochia banner. And I was pulling for Jinsei, but I accidentally clicked on the Rochia banner because it was like 3 a.m. And on my like 50th pull or whatever, on second pity, so it was guaranteed, accidentally clicked the wrong banner, did like one pull, and got Rochia. So I didn't have a limited unit for actually months and months of playing this game, and I still found it really fun. And obviously, I didn't even play Rochia. I was kind of discouraged by getting her initially. I was just using, like, you know, Rover and whatever standard units I had. Like, I actually had Jianshin, right, which is notoriously one of the most least fun, least enjoyed units in the game. Let's put it that way. And I still found the game pretty fun to play. And I still kept going. Or no, that's not true. Actually, I did get Carlotta before I got Rocha. And Carlotta was really good. But I didn't have, like, Carlotta's support. I didn't have... No, I think I did get her sick. So I did forget about that. But other than that, I didn't have, like, a meta team or anything like that. Still a really fun game. The parries were fun. The holograms were, like, the thing that really got me, at least. And the same is true of, like, Genshin Impact. There's like, the whole game, there has to be a good game there before you will inspire people to spend their money on it. If that weren't true, I know I'm being really long-winded about this, but basically my point is, there's, you know, what, like 10,000 other gacha games that existed before this. More than that. Most of them die off and fade into obscurity. Because gacha, like the monetization system, is not what defines the game. It's not what makes people want to play the game. What makes people want to play the game is the game itself. The gacha is just a monetization strategy. And yes, it can influence, you know, how they approach content production, how they approach character development and patch schedules and things like that. And that can, over time, have a significant impact on the game. However, like I said, if you ripped the gacha out of this game tomorrow, nothing would need to change. Nothing else about the game would need to change. The only thing that might change going forward is how much emphasis they put on the new banner unit in the story of future patches. But considering how good the story of 2.0 to 2.7 was, and how much it delivered, like, yes, it would, I think it would potentially improve future stories going forward, because it would free them up. But the story was already so good that it's kind of irrelevant. And it might not even need to change their strategy in that regard. I'm getting off on a tangent here. But, like, I'm just so tired of these people who are just too dumb to understand. I mean, again, it's like, imagine if the shoe were on the other foot, right? Like, people hear gacha and they say, oh, it's a dumb gacha shit game, it's bad. Imagine if the shoe were on the other foot and you said, oh, well, it's a buy-to-play game, therefore it's good. Well, does that mean all the shovelware and all the asset flips that have been available on Steam for years are good because they're buy-to-play? No, that's retarded. The monetization model does not make the game good or bad. The game makes the game good or bad. The monetization strategy can affect the game's quality and what the game focuses on and emphasizes, but it isn't the thing that defines that. The core thing that defines whether or not a game is good or bad is the quality of the content. Is the type of game that it is. Do you want to play an action RPG? Okay, well, you're not going to buy a turn-based strategy game just because the turn-based strategy game is buy-to-play and the RPG isn't. That's not how it works. But these fucking absolute retards just can't seem to wrap their head around the idea that monetization model does not determine whether a game is good or bad. Right? It can lower or increase the quality of the game, but the base quality of the game is determined by gameplay, art direction, music, storytelling, world design, combat design, all of these things. And I'm so tired of people who deliberately, who selectively suddenly forget that that's the reality. Just because, oh, well, this has a gacha monetization. Again, I think gacha monetization is bad. I think it does affect the quality of the game in ways that make it worse than it could be. And yet this game is still incredible despite that. And I do think it's predatory, and people who don't have good impulse control should absolutely not play any game that has any kind of gacha system in it. But imagine... I mean, it's like saying that other MMOs shouldn't learn from... Let's say... It's like saying that World of Warcraft shouldn't have learned from Final Fantasy because, I don't know, Final Fantasy uses an outdated engine. Or that Final Fantasy shouldn't have learned from Blizzard because Blizzard bad, I guess. Breast milk in fridges or whatever. It's like, yes, these are bad things about the company that the company did. And the fact that, like, Blizzard employees were raging fucking weirdos probably did affect the quality of the game to some degree. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't say, okay, well, this is one thing the game does incredibly well, and we should acknowledge that. Or that here's a whole bunch of things the game does incredibly well, and we suddenly can't acknowledge that because we're just brain dead and too stupid to comprehend that two things can be true at once. that a monetization system can negatively impact the quality of the game, but that the base quality of the game can still be so high that it's still an incredibly good game regardless. I don't know, I'm on a fucking rant because it's so frustrating. And it's so frustrating because it's like, I've been looking for like a game to play with friends or to you know, talk about with friends for a while now, because FF Dawn Trail has been a shit show and that kind of fell apart. Well, let's just take this. Oh, I can't. Okay, we'll take that, and we'll take that. But yeah, FF has been kind of a shit show. So there's really no, like, you know, so I recommend things to friends, and, I mean, it's frustrating enough when they don't listen. So it's like, to see Wuthering Waves, which is a game that absolutely deserves it, get a win like that, you know, and then people just, like, reflexively shut it down. It's like, I'm not gonna go out and badmouth your fucking games that I haven't played, that I know nothing about. Maybe they're incredible games, you know?
A worthy opponent.
But it's like, it's just frustrating, man. Like, I just want, you know, my friends to try out good games so that I can fucking talk about good games with them. And I just want to have, like, even people that I don't know yet, who I can talk about good fucking games with, and this is a good fucking game. Yeah, do I wish that it didn't have a gacha system? Yeah, 100%. But, you know, and it's funny because a lot of the people complaining about gacha are the same people who will just, you know, fucking shovel truckloads of dog shit microtransactions into their mouth like it's the most delicious curry they've ever tasted in their life. And it's like, well, hold on. You're literally the reason that games have become more and more predatory with monetization. You spend hundreds of dollars on stupid cosmetic microtransaction bullshit in games that already have a sub fee, and then you whine and complain when games have predatory monetization. Well, you are the root cause of your problem. You are being the biggest fucking hypocrite by pretending to care now. Because, like, oh my god, it's predatory. And here's the thing, right? While I say that it is predatory, and it is, right? I do agree that, like, you know, it deliberately, like, the gacha type systems deliberately prey on people with bad impulse control. You're grown-ass adults. Learn to control your impulses. Seriously. I mean, Jesus Christ. If you're such children that you can't control your own spending, then you don't deserve to be playing a video game in the first place, period. Like, I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, you should be fucking working on fixing your goddamn life if you have that big of a problem with impulse control.
Invincible!
Instead of whinging on Twitter about, you know, why your chosen game didn't win over, oh shit, gotcha. Like, shut the hell up. Get off the internet and go touch grass. Like, it's exhausting. All I want is to talk about good game. Friends, that's it. But you can't even do that. Because people have to lie and say things that just aren't true. Like, that, you know, Wuthering Waves gameplay is bad or something. I mean, you're fucking watching this right now. You can see I'm playing poorly, but you can see, like, dodge counters, parries, the kit design. I mean, it's like if a fighting game had babies with an action-adventure game. That's how the kits play. Like, there's all kinds of combos and dodges you can execute, different things you can do. Swap cancels. Like, it's just... Not to mention just how freaking cool.
It ends.
Like, look at how cool that is. I mean, come on. What are we talking about?
In control.
Now watch closely. Present your offering. The moon is full.
I'm just gonna stop ranting about it because it's just frustrating. So I guess that wasn't so chill for a little while there, but yeah, I'm kind of crashing out. Like, annoyed because I have friends who literally won't play this because, oh my god, gotcha.
Sing of my triumph. Roars
Who
of
won't play like Genshin because fucking, oh my god, gotcha. Just fucking stop.
One strike is enough. In control.
You know, they're always telling me, oh, you should try this, you should try that, and I go try it with them, and then 2 days later, they're not playing it anymore, and it's like, well, great. So I just wasted all my money listening to your recommendation for no reason, but you won't try something that's literally free because you just refuse to engage your 2 brain cells. It's so... Like, you just hear one word and your brain just... your 2 brain cells just shut off. They just die. Like, you make me waste my money and you do nothing. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Now watch
But
closely.
then, you know, y'all don't listen. It's like, oh, okay, great. This is how fucking people are, man.
Answer
This is
my
how people
call.
are.
I shall bear witness. Face me. Fate in my mark. The hero of
In the
heroes.
name of blood. Pathetic struggle. Rulers rule. Winners win. Yeah. My valor never fails. In control.
Alright. Resonance, lib damage. Oh, that's useless. Okay, let's just take that. What else we got? Okay, we'll take that. Why not? That's not that good for this team. Most of these are kinda not that useful. Wait, are these? Okay. I guess we'll take that. Oh, never mind. Okay, then we're not taking... we'll take that. Why not? This last, like, floor.
Honor cannot be
Yeah.
unmatched. Roars of conquest. In control. Sing of my triumph! Rulers Winner's ruin! Winners win!
Yeah, I mean, there's a few
My
games I'm
valor
probably gonna
never
try
bends.
soon too. Like, I've been kind of sleeping on PoE because I didn't want to get into it when it was super early access and there was like very limited content. But my friend just showed me Druid, and it's like actually super cool. And apparently they're pretty close to having the story completed. I still don't know if I want to jump into it before its full release. I did the same thing with Baldur's Gate
Honor
3,
cannot be
where
silenced.
I actually waited the full 3 years for full release because I knew I was gonna love it. I was such a huge fan of the other Larian games that I literally developed mods for them. Like I made an entire quest mod for OS2. I don't know if I ever actually published a mod for
Moments of victory.
the first one. Yeah, I don't think I published a mod for the first one, but for OS2, I published them. I basically did everything. I spent a year like fully learning like their Osiris scripting, like the map editor. I actually like built in a quest into the actual campaign of the game, which in some ways it requires less like script writing, right, and world design, but in other ways it was a lot harder than just developing something for like game master mode, because you had to integrate it into the campaign, which meant you had to re-edit like AI grid for the entire world map every time you wanted to make a change to like surfaces, like fire surfaces, oil surfaces, etc. You know, and obviously you had to integrate your story code into the campaign story code. You would integrate
With style and grace.
well, I think like the object scripts you could just attach to an object. You didn't have to integrate them in the same way.
On you go.
And then anytime there was a change to the system, like they released an update at one point that integrated a bunch of mods into the base game. And after they did that, the actual creation kit would no longer, like the mods you created there would no longer overwrite the AI grid. So I had to literally manually go into one of the core game.pack files and revert it to a previous state, and then overwrite that with my generated AI grid to allow the mod to continue to work, which meant that users had to actually physically change their game files instead of just downloading a mod file that goes into the mods folder, which, you know, instantly is going to tank how many people are willing to do that. But yeah, I basically learned how to do everything. I did VFX in their editor. I did, you know, story scripting, Osiris scripting, object scripting. You know, I made an object script that interacted with another with the story script and got stuff back from the story script. You know, I wrote like scripted lever puzzles, a bunch of character and quest dialogue with a bunch of different quest flags and possibilities, and different like endings and outcomes to the quest. I made a bunch of arena maps, made custom spells, custom VFX, custom character effects. Like, I really went deep with that, and because it kind of did some of everything, because it was kind of a learning experience, it didn't do a lot of anything. Like, it was also a stat rework, a systems rework. There was just a lot to it.
Wait. On you go.
But by far,
The
like, the
moon
most
is
complicated
full.
part was actually like integrating a scripted quest into the campaign. Because like the campaign is basically so if you've ever like modded using a creation kit or something like that, for like Divinity Engine 2, the actual like main story of the campaign, like say you were doing Baldur's Gate 3, like actually, you know, the part where you go and you play Shadowheart and Gale and all of them, where you make your custom character and you play through the story, that entire thing is kind of a mod. Like, they literally list it as, it's literally treated as a mod in the creation kit. It's just one that you can only use as a what's the word? A dependency for a mod that you're creating. Like, you can't edit it directly. You can, like, overwrite things that exist in it by creating a mod that changes where, you know, let's say you wanted to change where a story NPC is. Well, you would create the mod, and then you would move the story NPC. And then the mod would, like, as long as the mod file was in the mods folder and active, it would change the position of the NPC. But it wouldn't, like, actually change the quote-unquote mod file that is the base game. Is basically how it worked.
In control. Stand tall before the eternal sun.
But like that, I spent so long learning how to do everything in that and doing like a little bit of everything. So when it came to BG3 modding, and I did the modding in BG3 before they actually had a creation kit out, which, you know, is much more limited than the Divinity Engine's creation kit. Apparently somebody created a modded version of the kit that's fully unlocked anyway, but yeah, I created a Baldur's Gate mod, like, before there was a toolkit to do it, using guides that people had established, and just writing fucking script in text files, and then using tools to convert that into a pack file to make changes to various stats and things, and customize spells and abilities. And yeah, I kept the scope of that pretty small, because the one thing I learned is that the more scope creep you have, the more exponentially time-sucking the entire process of creating and managing and bug fixing a mod can be. And that doesn't even get into... So, like, when Original Sin 2's creation kit was becoming... was transferred over to the Definitive Edition creation kit for the Definitive Edition, I think at some point I lost some of the mod files, and it's done in, and the way that the packing process worked was done in such a way where if you don't have the pre-packed mod files, like the files that you worked on before publishing, then you can't, like, unpack the mod and then work on it through the creation kit. Like, the references that it needs are not included in that. So if you lose those, you have to rebuild them from scratch, and I did. I had to rebuild, like, everything for my Arcanum mod from scratch. And that was, that sucked. It was miserable. And then when they, in BG3, when they created the actual, like, modding support, you couldn't just, like, there was no tool that you could use to just, like, convert your pre-creation kit mods into something that could be plugged into the creation kit. You basically just had to... There were some guides, I think, that went over it, but then there would be certain pieces of data that you would need to, like, construct from scratch. And then, yeah, it just... I got about halfway through the process of basically rebuilding the mod, and then it got to a point. So for any game, it seems like it's really common now, for like the text in like dialogue boxes and descriptions of items, like for example, Lethian Elegy here, Underworld Requiem. So this isn't just like text that's written into the description field of like a spreadsheet. What they actually do, because there's localization, because you need like English, Japanese, Chinese, etc., is the actual description is just like a random string of numbers. It's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, X, Y, Z. And then that string of numbers links to a set of descriptions, right? Like the English version and then the Chinese, right? And the reason they do that is so that they can just put one thing here and then fill in the fields and add them, later. And there's other reasons, because there's other types of text. I'm doing a bad job of explaining it. But basically... Basically, I needed, in order to rebuild my mod, I would have needed to, like, cross-reference a bunch of, like, literal gibberish text strings with other literal gibberish text strings, and then figure out where they linked to, and then copy those over into the new creation kit. And it just got to the point where it's like, you know what, I'm fine with it just being available on Nexus, on whatever. I haven't even looked at Creator.io. I haven't looked at modding since I did my BG3 stuff, which was just a mod that, like... so there's, like, a bunch of sets of items in game that do, like... There's like here's a lightning damage set. Here's a thunder damage set. And they all kind of have different special effects and things like that. Like, now you deal a lightning strike when you do this. Or now you get +1 stat when you do this. Or you create a lightning puddle when you walk in this type of surface. Really cool, sort of weird stuff like that, Like, especially the creating surfaces or putting statuses on enemies, etc. I love that type of stuff. My mod for BG3 was basically just improving the fire damage set, because it's the vanilla version of it is kind of unplayably worthless. And not just like, make number go up, but doing things like, here's the boots of fire walking. Now you create a fire surface when you walk. While you're... Here's a ring that while you're burning, if you hit something with fire damage, you ignite them too. And it's called All Burn Together. Like, just stuff like that. Fun stuff like that. Or, like, now you have a fire aura. What else did I do? Yeah, I had one that... It's arguably a little overpowered, because it allows you to cast fire spells as a bonus action. But my thinking is, okay, it's kind of limited, because, now you're burning more spell slots. So... Like, you blow your load before the rest of your team, and now you're spending the rest of the time until long rest.
Sounds be
kinda
beautiful enough.
But it also does stuff like, you know, there were other things, like, because you had to be burning with the original set, or it was a thing called heat, which is basically burning, but gives you a buff. Oh yeah, we're done. We're done with that, right? So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and claim all these. I don't know, I'm going off on a fucking tangent that's not even about this game anymore. But, yeah, just really, really fun stuff like that. Or like where you would heal a small amount whenever you took fire damage. You know, to offset the damage that you're doing to yourself by burning. Or like Cauterize, which, you know, allows you to heal yourself by basically burning yourself, depending on how many stacks of the buff you have, etc. Things like that. Kind of like a Phoenix Flames style effect. And, yeah. So it was a fairly small mod, but, like, even that, it's so easy to... Because there are some things where it's kind of like you have to come up with creative ways to make them work. Or there's like some caveat to what the game engine actually allows you to do without editing core game files, which is a whole can of worms that you really don't ever want to have to open if you can avoid it. So it's kind of a fun challenge in that way. But there's all kinds of really quirky little things that you might find have bug fixes or weird issues where it's like something else in the game works in a way you wouldn't expect. Like when you do, so if you ever played and you, like Warding Bond in Baldur's Gate, what it does is you put it on somebody and then whenever they take damage, they only take half damage, but you take the other half, right? Well, you would think, you know, if you, from like, you know, a player perspective, you think, oh, it's the enemy dealing that damage to me, right? It's dealing that damage to them, and therefore it's the enemy is the one dealing the damage to me. Well, the game actually treats it as though the player who took the damage is now dealing the damage to you. So whenever you would deal, there was like a weird interaction where whenever somebody would, you know, take damage while warding bonded and they had the fire bonus, the person who ward bonded them would also take extra fire damage, which was like obviously not the intent. So, you know, you have to go and you have to write an extra line of script to say, okay, make an exception for this case. Like if the person if you're dealing damage to a person who has you ward bonded, don't deal the extra fire damage to them. Which now there's a situation where, you know, if for some reason somebody warding bonded you, and then you wanted to kill them with fire damage, well, now you're not getting the bonus. But, you know, I figured that was a way less common scenario than a situation where somebody ward bonded you and you was taking damage for you. So I just went with it, right? And there's not really a way around that within the limitations of the creation kit or the engine or whatever you want to call it. And it's like, would it be worth delving into a totally different file structure and modifying the core game files and using probably a different type of programming language entirely, and changing the install requirements because now users have to modify the core game files instead of just downloading a file that is automatically dropped into a mods folder for them? Is it worth all of that to get around this limitation? Well, no, not really. So you find these creative workarounds for situations like that. So even in like a very small mod like that, there's a lot to manage. Let alone a mod where you're actually changing the story modes map and the story modes script and files and dialogues. Like, it's not worth the scope creep. That's why nobody does like quest mods for Divinity or quest mods for Baldur's Gate. That's why all of the mods are like hair mods or cosmetics or new extra classes with new spells, because those things are relatively easy to do. Like, you don't need to do a bunch of overwriting of core game files. They're literally just additive. So on the one hand, it's like frustrating because, you know, I spent a whole bunch of time working so hard to integrate, to actually try and create story content and create spells and effects and a whole bunch of other things. So I see like all these other mods where they don't do that just popping off. And on the other hand, it's like, okay, but it was really cool to do it. And, you know, it's interesting. It's just very, like, it's a very different scope of, like, how much time you need to invest. Don't get me wrong, like, you know, well-designed class mods can absolutely take a ton of time to properly design and test and implement. But there's a whole side to modding that they don't even have to deal with. And I don't blame them, because it is fucking awful to have to deal with that side of
The
it.
approaching sounds be beautiful enough? Absolute.
Especially if you're just doing it as like a hobbyist, with like no actual support and nobody who's interested, nobody who helps you, nobody to fucking talk to. If you're literally just teaching yourself by going to the documentation page and going through the script and the code and then like putting shit together and figuring out what works on your own, dude, it is pure suffering and will literally destroy and eat away years of your life if you let it. It's that time consuming to do things that way. And the thing is, with like the modding community, it's not even necessarily that people won't help you. It's that, like, once you get to a certain point where you're like familiar enough with the scripting language and the toolkit, you'll go in and you'll see somebody asking a basic question like, how would I add, you know, lightning damage to this fire spell effect? Or something like super basic like that, where it's literally like, oh, you would just put it in, you would just put like X amount of damage in this field and that's that. And like, you get to a point where the questions you ask are things 99% of the participants in the modding community don't even understand what you're asking because they're not advanced. And that's not a slam on them. It's a good thing that there's so many people who are interested in getting into it, that there's always people kind of at a basic level. But it also means that if you are at all beyond that point, then the actual number of people who can actually help you is almost non-existent, and the odds of them seeing your post in like a forum or especially a Discord channel where the chats are always moving is basically zero. Even in like the discussions threads or whatever, like the more forum like version of Discord. Yeah, a lot of times if there is anyone who could give you an answer to your like super niche question, they're probably not going to see it.
Prelude to arrival.
So it's really tough. And if your question isn't super niche, not to be an asshole, but it's probably in the documentation and you should maybe spend a bit of time reading it, you know? Because, again, like, it's already hard enough in like a Discord chat where, you know, the actual chat moves quickly to get a response to a question, especially if it's constantly flooded with, like, how do I add a visual effect to a character when they use an ability? It's like... It honestly, you know, I think what would really help, so like a lot of Discords just kind of have one channel for like modding questions.
Absolute.
And I haven't like really checked in on any of them recently because I haven't modded in like a couple years now. Like since just before the creation toolkit released for BG3 was kind of when I stopped, but yeah, like I think there should be like separate channels for like beginner modding questions and advanced modder questions, but then the problem with that is like beginners aren't going to understand that their questions aren't advanced level. Or I would say intermediate, right? Because then there's guys like Windmere or like whoever it was that created the actual tool that let you convert your folder structure into .pack files for BG3. I think it was Laughing Leader. But yeah, there's guys like that who literally program entire programs for, you know, modders to use as tools. Who are like, you know, those are actually advanced level modders. Like, I wouldn't even necessarily know how to approach creating something like that. You know? So there's like different levels of understanding. But see you have like all different tiers. And it's kind of like you need different layers for different levels of questions, but the people who are like, you know, raw beginners might not know, like, oh, actually you can't... I can't even think of an example because it's been so long. If I were still in it, I could probably think of one, like, right off the top of my head. Because there were so many times I had questions like, let me think. So what was an example of something that I struggled to figure out? I think it was like...
Together.
I might have had some issue with damage riders at some point, which is... If you've ever played and you used the lightning charged set where, you know, oh, you deal damage and you deal 1 extra lightning damage. Well, that 1 point of extra lightning damage is called a damage rider. Because it's damage you're dealing that is not
I'll be there
base
yet.
damage. And there were some... Oh, right. I had an issue where I wanted extra fire damage to trigger off all types of fire damage, right? But then it would trigger off of itself for literally infinite damage. And part of the difficulty of that is the actual damage type. I had to find ways to restrict it, so I had to write, you know, only trigger if the damage source is like direct damage or a dot damage or X, Y, or Z. And it got to the point where because the way spells categorize their damage, doesn't necessarily include all of the damage types of that spell. Like in the spreadsheet in their creation kit, if you look at like that one cleric spell that does fire damage and radiant damage, I think the spell type is listed as fire because it's only a single type selection field. Right? So you can't just say all fire spells, because then there's a bunch of abilities and things like that that it doesn't apply to. You can't just say all spells, because there's a bunch of actions in the game that aren't considered spells, but are abilities. So I had to create a list of, like, back-end types, like, God, what were they? You know what? I'm sure this is really technical and nobody's following at this point. But I'm just gonna... It was like, you know, just... I don't remember what they were called, but like point-blank damage, or like, you know, targeted ability damage, or like... And I just compiled a list of every type of castable action in the game. So I had to do that, and then I also had to have a list of, like, I don't remember why. There was some reason I had to have a list of specific abilities that were somehow not included in that. And all of this was just to work around the solution of, I don't want this one specific type of damage to trigger off of itself.
Together.
Because there was no actual way to write code to detect that it was damage from the heat effect. It was basically like there was no way to determine which status. Now I remember. So, like, you know, I wanted fire damage, the bonus damage, I wanted the bonus fire damage from heat to trigger on all fire damage except the heat status itself. But there was no way for the game to figure out. There was no script you could write to be like, okay, was the source of this damage because of the heat status debuff? without, like, completely reworking the entire way that the status worked. Or maybe there was, and I just didn't know anyone who could answer that question, right?
Thus, you fall.
But yeah, basically because there was no that one thing, there was no way to write script to figure out, okay, was this damage from a status, and what was the name of that status, and was it this particular status?
Absolute futility.
And like the thing is, there's ways to do that, like on the enemy, but if the bonus damage is being added to a spell, yeah, it's... So I think it was when you dealt the bonus damage, I had an on-damaged event, right? So that says, okay, when a character is damaged, check what the damage type is. And there was no way to see, like, okay, if this instantaneous damage was fire damage, and did it have a bonus? And was that bonus added by a certain buff that the character has? The best you could have done was say, like, did this character receive damage, and was the character that dealt the damage, did they have this buff? You couldn't determine, like, how much of the damage was from that buff. You know what? I should just stop because I'm not I'm not explaining this well because I don't remember it well. But yeah, basically it was just a really frustrating situation. And this is in like a tiny mod, by the way. It literally just changes some effects on some items and adds a couple of spells. So yeah. God, I've been rambling for a little while now, huh? I don't even remember how I got on this track.
Will the approaching sounds of the soul never attune?
Arrow stun. Mamma mia! Avanti! Figurati!
Man, Rochia is just... I think she's a good character. Her design is fun. You know, like, you literally whirl up.
Mamma mia!
She Mamma Mia's, Viventis, whatever. Figurentis. I don't really care what the terminally online meta slave content creators say. I don't really care that, you know, oh, well, her meta damage is awful or whatever. Like, okay, buff the numbers, but the actual design,
Mamma mia!
you know, grouping enemies up, whirlwinding, pogo sticking, doing it all while saying Mamma Mia, Viventi, Figurenti, and then Pero. It's fun. It's fun. It's a good design. It actually is a good design. My only complaints are like how easily she gets interrupted and knocked out of it, and that probably the numbers need a buff.
We'll improvise.
But like the actual kit,
Mamma Mia, Avanti, Figurati.
I mean, it's not like the most complicated thing in the world. It's not like
Mamma Mia, Avanti.
I don't know, like a Phoebe Zani or like an Augusta, where there's a bunch of different ways you could optimally build their gauges and deal their damage and do quick swapping. But for just like the 3 to 5 second burst of gameplay, I think it's actually a really fun set of attacks. And the presentation is really nice. It's really cool. Like, on its own, I don't know, but in the context of, like, another team where she's just kind of a transitionary swap, I do think it's pretty fun. I think she gets a lot of, like, undeserved hate for being a subpar unit or whatever, because there's just a bunch of fucking brain-rotted meta slaves out there who can't appreciate something that's just fun for the sake of being fun.
Up we go, Pero. Mamma
And again,
Mia,
my biggest
Avanti,
complaint is that,
Figurati.
you know, she
Take
just
a breath and
gets
one kill.
interrupted so easily.
Surge of deep tides.
But other than that, I mean, I think all of the Rinasita characters, like, I just like her carnival theme. I mean, she's literally a carnival circus performer. It's great. I don't know, maybe that's just copium because I accidentally pulled her instead of Jinsei back in the day. But, like, actually, especially now that I have Cantarella, so I have, like, the full team. And I just need to finish building. Oh, man. Okay. At this point, I think I'm just saving for Cardathea signature. Because I don't really want Cantarella's signature that badly. I don't think it's that important to her DPS. Or to the team's overall DPS, at least. It's odd. So, anyway, what was I doing? We already cleared gateways. Oh yeah, I needed to get
The
some
tides have
of
whispered of
these.
your arrival.
I only have 2. Alright, let's pop them. I'm gonna need 9 more to complete all these nodes. And I think I probably will build her to 10 before I try to finish building Rochia's skill set to 10. Since she's kind of more important for the team's damage contribution. I would really like to build some more echoes too, but once you run out of tuners, man, you realize real quick, Because, like, they give you so many from the start of the game that you feel like, oh, I'm never going to run out. But when you finally do, you realize how slow the acquisition rate really is. So, like, whenever you clear a tacit field, like, I don't know, let's just go to Thagaciae. Whenever you clear one of these tacit fields where they can drop echoes and tuners and all that, I believe 4 echoes drop per, like, 60 wave plates. You get 20 tuners, which is... People who don't think about that will say, oh, 20, that sounds like... That's only 2 tunes. So that means if you level just one of those 4 echoes, you actually don't even have enough to fully tune that one echo. You can only get it half done. And then you need to go and do another tacit field. It's really bad. And the monthly shop or whatever, the point shop, only gives you, what is this, 100, so 15 tunes. And this doesn't replenish, like, you can never get more of these, so this is meaningless. And I don't even think this has tuners, nor does it replenish. So there's, like, no way. And you can't even get... You can't get tuners from this. You can't get tuners from the oscillated coral, which is like the... You can only get tuners by basically giving up pulls. It's really, really not. It's really super awful. Actually, come to think of it, what is that? 80? Jeez. Yeah. Like, it's basically never worth it to give up pulls for anything, unless you're trying for a sequence, which takes so many. It takes so many to get that much coral. I mean, you can do... So, 360 coral. Well, how many fucking... This is 8 per pull, right? So... 45 pulls? You can get 45 pulls instead of a sequence, which, you know, if you're going for that character's sequence, is a bargain. But then think about all of the 4 stars and the bonus coral that you're not getting because you're not like when you do them as pulls, you get more coral, you get more pulls, so you're actually losing more than that. And then there's potentially, like, you know, if you lose the 50-50, there's potentially, like, sequences on the 5-star. Like, you are giving up so much to get just one of these. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, I absolutely do not defend gacha systems. I hate gacha systems. I think they're awful. I think they create problems that just lower the quality of the game. Right? I think the baseline quality of the game is so good that it's still incredibly worth playing despite that. But I absolutely do think that just making it more accessible instead of using like FOMO would just make it a better experience. I don't think it would make them more money. Like, I'm gonna be honest about that. Like, let's be real. Of course they're gonna make more money doing gacha tactics. Because people, you know, apparently grown-ass adults just have zero impulse control and zero brain power. And that's why we can never have nice things. So, of course, you know, they're going to make more money using Gamba monetization. So, I want to make the argument that they would draw in more people, and so they would make more money that way, but the reality is they would still make less money that way than just doing Gamba and taking the smaller audience. I mean, it's just the truth. I hate it, but it's the truth, because again, it's not even me like being, oh, they're so predatory. Like, I do think it is a predatory system. I do think it's bad. I do think it makes the game worse than it could be. Still incredible, but, you know, imagine how much better of an experience it could be if that weren't the situation. But the same people, like, I promise you that these same people who bitch about gacha and say, oh, gacha shouldn't be allowed, the instant they find a gacha game that they like playing, they're going to start pouring thousands of dollars into it without, like, they'll just turn their fucking brains off. Like, they have zero impulse control. And that's what's so frustrating, is the same people who are just mentally deficient. I'm trying to find the right word. Just single-mindedly incapable of holding two ideas that don't conflict with each other at the same time. Like, they're literally incapable of holding two thoughts at the same time. Like, these same people who just single-mindedly parrot, you know, gotcha, I don't like gacha, therefore any game with gacha must by definition be bad and can't have anything good about it. Like, the instant these people, if they ever find a single game they like to play that has gacha in it, they're instantly going to discard their morals and just dump money into the Gamba system. And they're probably not even going to try to comprehend the pity system. They're just going to brain deadly be like, me dump money on banner, hope get unit. They're not going to make, you know, the calculated decision like, okay, I've got X amount of free pulls, and if I do X amount more, if I go grind out this amount more, then that means I'll only have to spend $15 instead of $30. You know, they're never going to use their brain like that. They're never going to think like that. They're just going to be brain dead and mindlessly dump dollars into it. And all their fucking supposed morals will go out the window.
We'll improvise.
Because that's how dumb these people are. And then they're going to turn around and continue bitching about other gacha games.
Plot twist. Avanti. Figurati.
They're just completely mindless. They have no critical thinking facilities.
Turn of events. Time
They have
for
no
some
impulse.
crowd work. I'll warm up the
I'll keep you company.
Because people like them spread fucking lies because they don't understand what they're talking about. Other people hear that, and because, you know, they're not that willing to look into it, they just listen and believe it's true.
Sink into the endless deep.
Annihilation.
to the point where, you know, they refuse to listen to people that tell them anything to the contrary, based on something they have done literally zero actual reading about, that they have not looked into at all. Like, they just have these opinions about things they know actually literally nothing about, and believe their opinions are more valid than, you know, what they hear from somebody who actually has spent time looking into
Will
these
the
things.
approaching sounds be beautiful enough?
Like, all these people who are like, oh, every gacha game is just a
Absolute
money dump with
utility.
bad mechanics and no story.
Youthful.
Just mindlessly dismiss people who have actually played Wuwa specifically, or Genshin, or whatever, you know, and said, well, actually, no, there's really good story, there's really good gameplay. They're just mindlessly like, well, my opinion is more valid than yours, even though I've never even done so much as watch a 5-second clip. I know more about this than you. Like, these are the Dunning-Krugerite retards who are so dumb they don't even understand how dumb they are. They're so uninformed they don't even understand how uninformed they are. Like, they literally think their opinion, which is based on nothing, you know, they haven't spent even 5 seconds looking at a video, is somehow more valid than the opinion of somebody who's actually played the damn game.
Will the
It's
approaching
insane.
sounds be beautiful
And this
enough?
isn't just true of things like, you know, Wuthering Waves being a gacha. This is true of everything that people have opinions about ever in real life. You know, culture, movies, writing, especially politics. Oh my god, politics. People just have the dumbest, most uninformed, illiterate opinions you can ever imagine. And they refuse to just say, oh, I don't know. It's so easy to just say, I don't know. Here's what I've heard. I don't know. This is what I've heard. It's so easy to just say that. But these people who won't even spend 5 seconds
Beautiful enough?
doing a Google search, doing like even getting an AI synopsis, they won't even bother with that. Will just assert that their opinions that are just total made up dog shit are somehow more valid than people who actually know what they're talking about. It's insane. And that's why we're cooked as a species, guys. Look, thanks for listening to my TED Talk. But yeah, it's just... It's been like the last... It's been my entire life, is seeing people behave like this. Having to learn the hard way that people are stupid and don't know what they're talking about, and even when they do, half the time they're deliberately misinforming you for their own personal sake, for their own benefit. And of course, nobody's going to tell you that because, well, because it's not to their benefit to make you aware that they're going to lie to you for their benefit. And the people who are telling you the truth, I mean, half of them don't understand this, and the half that do are so jaded and cynical like me that they've just kind of given up trying. It sucks. It really sucks, but that's you know. And you think, oh, it's the world can change. Brother, I've spent the last, like, 10 years of my life watching enough, like, ancient history podcasts to be like, oh yeah, civilization never changes. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Like, this shit was happening in fucking, you know, ancient Egypt. You know, like, these priests were gathering up and hoarding wealth and deliberately fucking skirting the rules to take stuff from tombs and things like that. It's just like the idea that people are ever going to be honest and tell you like how society really works. I mean, it sucks. You know, you grow up being taught like, oh yeah, we believe in an egalitarian civil society where, you know, you just play by the rules and act decent and everything will work out all right. And then, you know, it turns out that none of the institutions play by the rules. Everyone's trying to screw you. The only people you can count on are people who depend on you because they have a vested interest. And even then, if you let people like that get away with exploiting you enough, then they'll continue to do it.
We wither together.
The only sure way to success is basically self-sufficiency, and you know, there is no set of rules. There is no set of laws you can abide by where society will, like, here's the reality, like, you know, oh, you follow the law, you pay your taxes, you do this, you do that. Okay, well, that doesn't matter because now, surprise, your mortgage company has tripled your mortgage for the foreseeable future out of nowhere because they put a second insurance policy on your house because, you know, 1 month you were 2 days late sending them the documentation. And now you're spending a year just refusing to pay them and holding the money in an account, hoping that you can force them through legal pressure to rescind the fuck up that they did. Because I'm sorry, but no, I'm not paying triple the mortgage. There's no possible way. Just shit like that comes along. Or like you get a traffic ticket for some going through some toll booth that you were never even near. And then the state like increases the fine, or you have a business license for whatever, and because, you know, and this is all stuff that's happened to me, by the way, because had to deal with a lot of this after my dad passed, like, years and years ago. But, yeah, it's, life comes at you, and you learn fast that nobody's playing by the rules, and everyone's trying to cheat you. And if you do nothing but play by the rules, you will be cheated. So, like, you have to figure out when you need to break the rules, and there's, I mean, by definition, there's no rule book for doing that. And that's just life. That's just people. And it's been going on since, I mean, ancient Egypt was, you know, there was thousands of years of civilization even before that we know of. And maybe even more before that, depending on, you know, what you think of Göbekli Tepe, things like that. You know? The point I'm trying to make is there is no set of rules that you can live your life by that will lead you to a good outcome. You will, if you ever think there's a set of rules that you can unshakably follow, there isn't. If you don't, there will be times where you have to break that set of rules, or your life will just be destroyed and you will have to start from square one. That's just how it is. If it were that easy, if there were just a perfect stricture of codes you could follow, life wouldn't be so fucking hard, would it? And that's something nobody tells you. That's something nobody teaches you. Just like how nobody teaches you fucking taxes in school. Just how nobody teaches you personal finance in school. I mean, even the civics classes we got growing up were completely meaningless. You know, the only real education you can get in that is, like, going to town meeting, is, like, knowing what your town is doing, how much they're taxing you, and then going to town meeting and being like, hey, what the fuck? You're spending $500,000 drilling a geothermal well for our fire station, and you don't even know if it's going to work? And it could potentially, like, leach into the wells of a bunch of people? Gee, that's great. Yeah. When instead you should be getting a new fire truck, and I'm sorry, but it only costs like, I don't know what, $2,000, like 20 grand a year in heating. That's what you're trying to replace with your $500,000 test drill or test frack? Like, come on.
Will the approaching sounds be Bute's symphony of life?
Or great, we're getting another 12% tax increase this year in my state. Oh boy.
We wither together.
Like, I'll tell you what, if I thought I could easily get a mortgage and a more affordable, like, place in another state, yeah, I would probably do it. I'm, like, very close to the New Hampshire border, so, yeah, it's pretty tempting, but, yeah.
Are we there yet?
I don't know. It's just, people are stupid and awful, and they're always fucking up and trying to steal from you in order to fund their fuck-ups. And I'm an optimist, guys. So, like, you know, I say this completely doomer-pilled stuff, right? But I also acknowledge, so, like, I'm the type of person that as a kid I went on, like, 4chan and watched, you know, the worst videos of, like, the worst things people do to each other, because I thought it was important to, like, have a sense of perspective, right? Because I know, like, a lot of sheltered people who don't understand that bad things happen in the world, who just think, like, oh, the world is all love and peace and everyone's nice and kind and hunky-dory and it's only a few bad apples, right? And I knew I didn't want to be that. So I went and I watched the shit that people do to each other. And I like, you know, I listen to these history podcasts and stuff, and I realize, actually, no, people are awful and evil and shitty and vicious animals. And at the same time, they're wonderful and amazing and kind and awesome. It's all true. All of it exists simultaneously. The best and the worst. I mean, they are literally the contrasts to each other. It's literally the meme of you can't have the light without the darkness. Well, you can't have the darkness without the light. It's stupid. I hate how fucking tropey it is. But I mean, tropes are tropes for a fucking reason, right? So, yeah.
Absolute.
I'm not trying to be doomer pilled. I'm just saying there is no like set of rules you can just that you can just mindlessly that can just mindlessly string you through life. You will have to make decisions and think, and sometimes you will have to go outside the strict definitions of the rules that you think you should live your life by, because it turns out they just don't work for every situation.
Erased.
And people that can't understand, can't even begin to grasp that, people who are just so stupid that the only thought they can hold in their head is, gotcha, bad. Therefore, gotcha, bad. Buy to play good. With no, like, nuance, no understanding of, like, the different things that go into a game. You know, people that are like that, and who disinform other people into being like that, it's like, on the one hand, man, I know people, I know why people have to be this way, but on the other, like I intellectually know, but like I academically know why people have to be this way, but because I'm not that way, I don't understand why people have to be that way, you know? I mean, that's not entirely true. I'm sure I'm that way with some things. I kind of accept that, like, I just, like, no person can always be informed about all things all the time. There's just not enough time in a human existence to be, right? So, like, at a certain point, you just have to accept, I don't know. But I can say that. I can be like, I don't know. I'm going to make my decision based on what little information I have. I really don't know. If new information suddenly comes to me, I'll change my opinion, right? Like, I have no problem with that. But people who don't know jack shit, who clearly, demonstrably do not know fuck all about what they are talking about, and just assert that they are the definitive authority, even though it's so painfully obvious that they don't have a single clue. It just makes me so mad. It just drives me crazy. I just want to fucking... You know what? I'm not going to say what I want to do to them. Because, like, you know, I do think people have a right to be wrong. They have a right to be uninformed. It is what it is. You know, you have to have the right to be wrong so that you can learn. That's literally part of the learning process. But people who are just adamantly, vehemently, unapologetically wrong and refuse to do even the smallest amount of critical thinking or reading or even listening, and demand that everyone treat their dog shit, completely uninformed opinion as preordained godly law or something. I don't know. I'm fucking whinging, man. It just, it pisses me off. Like, these people just need to be beaten off of the internet. Like, they... Ugh. I mean, honestly, like, for example, like the dispatch people who are bitching, how hard is it? How hard would it be for them to just say, well, I don't know anything about Wuthering Waves. I just feel like my game was really good and it deserved to win. Okay, that's fair. I don't know. I haven't played Dispatch. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm not saying it didn't deserve to win. But what I am saying is that Wuthering Waves absolutely deserved to be nominated, and it deserved to win too. And it did win. It deserved to win. Just straight up. 100% deserved it. I mean, if you want to make the case that any of those other games deserved to win, absolutely. Maybe they did. I'm not going to sit here and say they aren't good games if I haven't played them. I mean, I did actually watch somebody play most of E33. It looks interesting, right? I haven't played it myself. But I did kind of get, like, big spoilers, right? Because I watched them. I didn't watch them play the whole thing. I missed, like, chunks here and there, but I did see, like, pretty major pieces of it. So, I feel like, based on what I saw, honestly, I feel like it's overrated. I feel like it's still really good, probably, but I do feel like it's not as, you know, insanely world-changing as people are claiming that it is. And I do think, so, like, E33 winning Best Indie Game, I mean, it's technically an indie, and I do want people who might be part of, like, a big games company like Ubisoft to be incentivized to break off when they feel like they have something they're really passionate about and do something with it. But I also think, you know, if you're a studio that has, and I know, like, compared to a lot of big games, $10 million is not a lot. But how many people, how many like modders, how many people do you know that are just, like, playing around with UE5 as, like, hobbyists that could drum up $10 million in funding and spend 4 years working on a project before ever releasing it? I mean, it's... like, people who say, oh, it's an industry plant, like, shut the fuck up. But at the same time, it's a bit of a stretch to call it an indie. Like, it is... it is very much on the fringes of, like... I mean, $10 million... You might say, oh, well, look at all these other big games that spent $200 million, $500 million. Alright, listen, but are you saying $10 million is not a lot of money? I mean, how many people... like, do you think fucking Tyler, who made, what's it called? That stupid pot-selling game, drug-selling game, Schedule 1, do you think that dude was able to drum up $10 million? Somehow I doubt it. That's all I'm saying, right? That's all I'm saying. Like, did E33 deserve to win a ton of awards? Yes, absolutely. That one is kind of, like, it's not a question of did it deserve to win, it's a question of, well, does it really belong in that category of, well, it's an indie. Well, I want people to be incentivized to break off from, like, the super big companies, but at the same time, if you're able to drum up $10 million of support based on industry connections for what is technically a new studio, I mean, it's kind of like, that's kind of like the definition of the technical definition of an indie studio. It's like, technically, okay, sure, but what about the spirit? And they won, like, I mean, they won 8 other awards. Did they need that one too? Really? I mean, come on. What are we doing? It's the same thing with Larian and BG3. Like, I don't know if they won indie. I can't remember. But I wouldn't have considered them an indie at that point. I mean, they were... So, like, they were a studio long before that. I mean, if I remember right, they worked with, like, major publishers for the original Divinity games. And I know they did a Kickstarter for Original Sin because they wanted to split off from that, but they were like, very much an established studio. I'm nothing against them. I love them. I think they're great. I think they've made great games. I think they have great attitudes. They, you know, have great interactions, community support. I wouldn't have considered them an indie, even if they fit the technical definition. Same way, even though, like, and I mean, there's more of a case with Sandfall, right? Because E33, as far as I'm aware, is like their first game release as that studio, and I know that, like, only the founders were ex-Ubisoft and stuff like that, and a lot of people there were genuinely, like, new to the industry, but I'm guessing they also had, like, a lot of people who were, you know, ex-industry, so it's kind of like, and again, did they really need 9? I mean, fucking, and imagine if they won Player's Voice too, like, I mean, at what point do you stop calling it the Game Awards and just start calling it the E33 Awards? You know? It's like, yeah, yeah, there's no Game Awards this year. It's just it's like the Ricky Gervais. It's just, you know, there's no movie awards this year. It's just Netflix has won everything. You just won. Netflix has won. Congratulations, Netflix. It's the same thing. It's like, there's no awards this year. It's just E33, Sandfall has won everything. Congratulations. Like, at a certain point, it feels a bit pointless and silly. And I'm not saying they didn't deserve a lot of the praise and a lot of the awards, but I mean, if you're going to have an awards show and only award one game, even if that game really deserves it and was a huge industry disruptor, right? And I say industry disruptor, but I think we're in an era now where industry disruption will forever be the norm. Like, indie studios are forever going to be the norm. Those are going to be the places where the big releases and the major games that people enjoy will come from. Because it's just so much more accessible to make games now. And I actually do know a little bit about what I'm talking about. Obviously, I have a background in modding I've learned scripting. I know what kind of documentation, what kind of resources in YouTube. Like, the people at Sandfall, when they were on stage and said, thank you to the YouTube community for having these tutorials on how to make a video game, they weren't really joking. That's, like, actually pretty true. You can pretty much just go on YouTube and look up UE5, how to do this, how to do that, how to make this work, how to do that. And if you're willing to put in the effort and string it all together and maybe read a bit of documentation for, like, programming languages, you can just make a game for free. Like, it's kind of wild. And, I mean, there's really nowhere to go for, like, Blizzard, for, like, EA, for, like, these big corporations but down. Because there's only ever going to be more and more people getting into it, into game creation. And, at least in the West, well, it's not like our populations are growing. Let's put it that way. I mean, you know, I'm sure anyone who's ever watched any kind of news or anything like that on YouTube has heard the term birth rate crisis. And I'm not going to get into the implication, like the political fucking whatever implications of that. Just suffice it to say, there's not infinite people on the planet, and I think, like, there's not a lot of potential for... I mean, the games industry is already bigger than the music industry and Hollywood combined. By, like, 2x or something. So, like, it's not like, oh my god, there's such a huge untapped market of things for EA and Blizzard and whatever to tap into to suddenly grow even bigger than they are. It's only going to be downhill for them. Or at the best, maintaining the status quo. And there's only going to be more and more people producing games. The only thing that they really have an edge on is that they already have an established company that people are familiar with. And, like, the marketing that comes from that. Like, the brand recognition and marketing. And they have live service games that, you know, keep people engaged. And that's why live service games, microtransactions, things like that have been growing over the years. Is because once just selling more copies of a game is no longer a viable path for growth, not just maintaining the status quo, but growth, well, you need to grow in other ways by, like, selling microtransactions or sub fees or whatever. And back to the original point of this entire fucking rant, yeah, that's why gachas are so successful, because people have zero impulse control and they want to spend money to get reward. And they, like, the instant there's even a single layer of obfuscation between, like, you know, me get thing and how much money they're spending, you know, a lot of people don't want to spend the mental energy to be like, okay, well, what dollar amount does that actually equal? They will literally just turn their brain off and just buy Gamba. That's it. They won't even question it. They won't even think about what are the odds. They just say, I'll just buy Gamba. Don't want to even think. You know, it's like I was saying, they don't go and look at, you know, this little info tab. Like, they can't read all this. Are you kidding me? Like, they're not going to take the time. They don't even understand. They don't even understand how the game works. They think the combat is bad and the game must be bad because gotcha, right?
Together.
So, like, you know, instead of
Absolute
thinking and forming an opinion
futility.
based on spending time and effort critically
Thus, you fall.
thinking, analyzing things, you know, they can't even be bothered to try it. And when they do, you think they're going to read all this? They're going to be like, the base 5-star resonator rate is 0.80000. I mean, first of all, that could just be 0.8%. They're just going to read all those zeros and their eyes are going to fucking gloss over. And again, I'm not trying to be the cynical fucking 13-year-old internet atheist Reddit asshole who's just like, oh, all people are stupid, right? I think there's plenty of smart people. But, I mean, it's... There's average, and I think the average person can do this, but isn't inclined to. So, like, let's say average is, you know, 50-50. Well, half of people are less likely to read all that than that. And half of those people probably couldn't understand it even if they did read it. So, there you go. Now, that means that the other half, well, they might be more inclined to read it and understand it. But yeah, basically, I mean, if you read this, it means your chance of getting a 5-star character is I mean, if you round down, if you don't follow the, you know, round up from 5 rule, if you round down, it is actually literally 0% chance, right? You know what I mean? It's a bit funny. But they're not going to read all this. Average drop rate, including the guarantee, is 1.8%. Yeah. So, and I mean, again, even if they read this, they're not really going to understand it. Like, you know, like, I'm not even thinking about the math formula for, okay, well, if you get it at 79 pulls guaranteed, and then you'd have to run an entire formula for the soft pity system from 71 to 80. Like, I'm just looking at this like, okay, so your chance, if you do 110 pulls, is statistically you would get a 5-star if you did 110 pulls. But since it's, you know, capped at 80, well, you're guaranteed. Well, then, basically, you are functionally guaranteed to be required to get to 80 pulls to get a 5-star. And even then it's a 50-50, so to guarantee the character that you want from the banner, you functionally need 160 pulls. Right? Like, that's the simplified version. And even that is... I mean, try explaining that to somebody who's never heard of gotcha. You know, they're going to be like, what? What do you mean? That doesn't... Huh?
Will the approaching sounds be...
And they're going to have no concept of how long it takes to get, like, asteroid. Right? They're not going to know, like, okay, well, 160 asteroids, how long does that take to get? Well, I mean, even if I had to think about it, if I had to guess, I'd say if you were just running around straight up grinding chests, probably about 10 or 12 minutes if you had all of the chests available to grind.
Thus, you fall.
With the daily, like, if you just, like, mainlined straight through the dailies to get it, to get 60 pulls, probably takes, what, like, 3 minutes? So that means for you know, 3 days, right? Because that's how many it takes to get more than enough to get a single pull. It's 180, whereas a single pull is 160, so this is actually a little less. That's about 9 minutes, right? But it could take more than that if you're doing other stuff, right? The point is, like, the average person is not going to understand this at all. Even if you explain it to them in the simplest way, which is, yeah, you need to do 160 pulls to... If you want to think of it as just, I'm just going to buy the character, then you need to buy 160 pulls. Basically. That's the simplest and closest to accurate way to think of it. And how much is 160 pulls? Well, that's 40. So that... Well, I forgot about the bonus, right? So that's actually 50. So you would need to buy 3 of these, and then... Let's say... And that's actually 50.5. So you would get 51, and then... Or 3 of these to get 151. And then... like another 10 pull would be, yeah, this. So, yeah, $330. And I mean, of course, if you have the first time bonuses, the math is different. Like, you could break down the formula all kinds of different ways for all kinds of different situations. But basically, the truest and most accurate way would be to say, yeah, it's about $330 to get a character. It's about it. Which I think is ridiculous, but because it's behind a layer, it's behind 2 layers of obfuscation, you know, most people can't turn their brains on and say, oh my god, I'm paying $330 for a character. They're just going to be stupid and do gamba and not understand that they're basically wasting their money if they're not going to spend the full amount. And they're certainly not going to do the like turbo nerd shit of, okay, well, I can get X amount of pulls in game for free by doing this stuff and this content. And then if I stretch that and wait for X events to come out to get the extra free pulls, then I can reduce the price I pay down to $15 instead of $30. They're not going to do that, like I said earlier. People don't want to think that hard. And, you know, it's not entirely unfair to not want to think that hard about something you're doing for fun as a recreational thing, right? Like, it's not entirely unfair for them to not want to, like, have to do fucking spending math for something that that is just their fucking relaxation. Which is why I do think it's somewhat fair to say the system is predatory, right? I'm not putting that solely on, like, oh, people have, you know, zero impulse. Like, it is predatory. It's shitty that they do this. It's shitty that this is the system. But at the same time, that's how people are. And you can hardly blame a company for being like, well, we need to make the maximum amount of money possible. And I mean, again, it's not like these people are being held at gunpoint, forced to do this. They're doing it themselves. By choosing to engage in irresponsible spending behavior this way. And I mean, I'm not one to talk. You just saw, like, obviously I've bought the different packages. But like I said, I have actually spent in the 2 years that I've been playing this, like I said, I've spent less than $500. And people are going to hear that and they're going to be like, oh, $500, that's a whale. Yeah, well, again, like I said earlier, stupid, do the math on how much you've spent on sub fees on World of Warcraft or whatever. Do the math on how much you've spent on, like, you know, small purchase titles or microtransactions. And you'll realize real quick that you've probably spent more than I have in the same time period. So, yeah, eat a dick. That's all I have to say to those people.
We wither together.
I mean, like, you do the math on a $15 sub fee for 2 years. Like I said earlier, it was, what was it, like, $360? 15 times 12, assuming no state tax or anything like that. $180, and then multiply that x2, 360. And if you've spent any money on microtransactions at all, like, you've probably spent more than I have on this in the same time period. So, congratulations, you're a whale. But again, these are people who don't have impulse control. They don't think about they don't budget their spending. They don't think about their spending. They don't do math. They don't do any of that. So they just hear that number and, you know, brain deadly screech like, oh, gotcha, game. But shut the fuck up. And the only reason it's so much, right, is because I don't gamble. I spend to buy. I have never once bought any of these, like, in any gacha game. Genshin, this. I've never once been like, oh, I'm just gonna blow... No, I've been like, okay, how many pulls in am I? How many pulls do I need to get to the guarantee? And I mean the guarantee, not the 50-50. I don't fuck with the 50-50. I say... If I'm not past the 50-50, I will be like, nope, not doing it. Because it's not worth it. Right? I will do the math and I will say, well, can I afford to spend this now?
Will the approach
and am I willing to spend this amount to get this character and or their weapon? Right, and that's the only reason why I'd ever bought the $100 package, because I was getting both the character and the weapon.
Absolute futility.
And it's like, I don't like it because it feels like a lot, but then you think about like all these people who buy Founders Packs for like $500 for things like Neverwinter or Ashes of Creation just to get into the frickin' alpha. It's like you're spending $500 on an alpha crying about people quote-unquote gambling in gacha. Like, how stupid are you? Now, anyone that does spend money to, like, pull a 50-50, I mean, like, okay, if you know you're getting a 50-50 and you're okay with losing it, you know, but, like, if you're a person who's just spending money without understanding that you're not going to get the character unless you reach pity, like that is the one thing you should understand first before you ever spend money in a game like this, is you will never ever get the character by getting lucky. It's not going to happen. Even if it happens, right, you should never behave as though it will happen. Like if you've never heard of the concept of expected return, just don't even start playing this. Just don't. If you don't understand what expected returns are, you should definitely not be playing a gacha system. I mean, even if you do understand expected returns, you shouldn't apply that, right? You should just assume, functionally, you are buying 80 pulls to get a 50-50. You are buying 160 pulls in order to get the character. That's that. That's the end of the story. That's what the math says statistically will be required of you. And if you think you're special, if you think you're the exception, you're a retard and you're going to bankrupt yourself. And that's the end of the story. So just don't. You're not special. You're not lucky. The cosmos doesn't care about you. And if you think that, then you're one of those idiots who read The Secret and thinks you can manifest things into your life just by desiring them. That's not reality. Ugh, this has basically just been a me venting and bitching about social media stream. I used to never spend time on it, and I really haven't, until like the last couple weeks, I haven't really spent any time on it, and doing it has done this to me. So yeah, goddamn. Yeah. Anyway, I was done with the dailies and the grind and all that shit literally 2 hours ago. Right, except I didn't do these. So let's go ahead and do that. Did I already? No, I was gonna go do this first. Forgery challenge. So we'll do I think a couple of those because I need enough to do all 4 skill upgrades. But yeah, gotcha's bad, but the people who... The long and short of it is gotcha is bad, but it exists because people are stupid and bad. Gotcha's bad, but it exists because people are bad. Consumers are bad. Oh wait, no, didn't want to do that. Okay. Or let me rephrase that. Gotcha companies are bad, but people who spend money are stupid and also bad. So everybody's a bad guy. Fuck them all. Don't care.
Life or death. No
You know?
alternative.
It's just so frustrating. I just like it because it's a good game, and the fact that people are just so completely retarded. I mean, again, these... I'm just... I'm kind of fucking spent mentally, guys. Like, I'm just talking...
Heed the echoes.
God, that
Blossoms
heavy,
in
bro.
bloom.
Mamma mia! Avanti! Figurati!
I guess the way I would put it is you get gotcha because it's what you deserve. And if you think gotcha is dog shit, it's because you deserve dog shit. I mean, not literally everyone, but a lot of people out there, a lot of these people who complain about it are the same type of mindless consumer who just, you know, they just can't get enough of shoveling poop into their mouth. These developers who just put out microtransactions and sub fees and premium founders packs for $500-$600. Like, they just can't shovel enough of the enshittification of games into their mouth. and then they complain about, well, this monetization model is bad because X, Y, or Z. It encourages irresponsible spending. Like, they didn't just blow, you know, $600 on primo bucks for whatever fucking Ashes, like, creation MMO. Again, I don't know that much about Ash's creation model. I just know that they have like a couple founders packs that are like $200, and of course they prioritize people. Like, you have to pay $200 to get into the alpha, and it's like, I'm not saying it's not a good game. I'm very much hoping it comes out and is good, and apparently now you could get into it, and there's probably like if I had to guess, there's probably like a $50 or $60 option for beta testers. But it's like, I mean, and I know they need funding. Like, obviously they're creating a massive project. I'm not trying... What I'm saying is there's nuance here, but the people who talk about these situations as if there is no nuance are the same people who basically cause the problem by funding corporate greed and microtransactions that ruin games. But because this corporate greed is a slightly different version of the model, well, that's, you know, the reason why they shit on it so much is because they're trying to make themselves feel better about the shitty business practices that they're enabling. Right? That's what it boils down to. Is they're like, well, my monetization, my game's corporate greed monetization strategy is better than yours, so my behavior is acceptable. That's what it is. It's just stupid, selfish, shitty people engaging in bad behavior, trying to rationalize, not just rational, trying to make themselves feel emotionally better about engaging in that shitty behavior by pointing at something else and saying, well, actually, that's worse. When no, it really isn't. You know? I mean, how many fucking normies bought the same game like 4 times? How many people spent fucking $240 buying 4 different $60 editions of Skyrim? And don't get me wrong, I love Skyrim. I created mods for Skyrim back in the day. Like, I played the fuck out of Skyrim. I put thousands of hours into that. But I also did not buy it 5 different times. I bought it once on Xbox, and then you better believe when I got my first gaming PC and built that shit myself, that I went on the high seas, because I'm like, yeah, I already paid you for this. You don't deserve my money for a second product. And, you know, on some level, because it's a different platform, right, and they have to do porting and support, right, there is a certain argument to paying for it for separate versions, but at the same time, it's like, but then you get to, like, deluxe edition and remastered, and it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're selling the same game with minimal labor between editions, minimal new offerings 4 or 5 times? I think not. I think you already got all the money you need from that one. Maybe make something new. And yeah, here it is 14 years later, and we still don't even have... I mean, what we have... I can't even call that a trailer. It's just a fucking zoom-out shot of a rough UE5 map that doesn't even have flora or trees or characters or landmarks. It's just a fucking terrain. It's literally just a terrain. Like, what are we doing here, Todd? I mean, I could make a trailer like I could literally I could make that trailer personally, right? Like if I could download UE5 right now, and probably in about 10 minutes shape the terrain into a couple mountains and then paint some snow texture on it, and then move the camera, film it on OBS or something, and make that trailer. And counting the time that it would take to, you know, upload it, put a soundtrack on it, throw the subtitle on, well, edit it, upload it, throw the subtitle on. Maybe if I took my time with it, it would take 3 hours. If I really, like, carefully edited the terrain to give the mountain nice crisp peaks and edges and paint the snow textures in a patchy way, hand painted. But, like, I'm pretty sure there's UE5 has some level of procedural generation. So it's like, if you're actually, like, actively using UE5 and are, like, just have a workflow, you could probably put that trailer out in about 10 minutes as a single person. I mean, it's pathetic. And we're pretending like this is an announcement trailer. It's like, bro, come on. Like, what are we doing? You might as well have just slapped white text on black screen. So anyway, I'm getting sidetracked again. Man, I'm kind of tired. God, I really didn't get a single... I'm gonna have to, like, reshape those. So I need 12 of these overall, so let's go ahead and get 12 of them. Alright. We'll go ahead and activate the crit nodes first. Oh yeah, that's also hyper expensive for shell credits. Synthesis purification. Yeah, that really didn't get me enough to do anything, huh? Alright, we're gonna activate that node. And then the attack nodes. So we need... I think I can do one more, and then I need to do another domain or forgery. Right. God. I've been on a turbo rant this stream. I thought it was just going to be a chill, like... whatever. And it kind of has been. I'm just kind of shooting the shit, putting my thoughts out there. You know? It be what it be. It do be what it do be. You know, with my sussy thumbnail. I was trying to get... It was like during the screenshot event, I was trying to get like a good screenshot of Zani's ult. But the camera did not want to cooperate. So what would happen is the camera anchor, like where it's centered, you can only go so far away from that during the event. And apparently the anchor stays at the start point of Zani's ult cast, which is on the ground. But obviously she flies way high up in the air, so if you want to, like, catch that, well, because the anchor is way down, you can't really angle it in a good way unless you go directly above the character. And then it's kind of like, well, I mean, that's the shot you get. Because, like, Zani crashing down the sword does look really cool. It was just, the camera did not work in a way that allowed you to properly capture that at the, like, correct point in the transition. So I have a few shots that are kind of better than that, but, yeah, fuck. What was I doing?
The tides have
Right.
whispered of your
Okay.
arrival.
Synthesis. Getting off track. But, really? I only have 2? Bro, that is rough. Alright. I'm glad that it, like, auto converts from the lowest now. Because I used to have to, like, you know, just multiply everything by fucking 9. Which meant, like, going to the lower tier and figuring out how many I had and subtracting that from the amount, and etc., etc. And it was like, oh my god. Yeah, okay. But yeah, it's like... Okay, I guess we'll spend some of my wave plates and shit. Cantarelli, bring me the Formuale.
Engulfed by Sea's venom. Silence.
Is there like a... there must be a cooldown on that.
That tickles.
Oh yeah, and you kind of need 4 of her gauge
That
to
tickles.
properly...
Do keep up. Symphony of life.
Alright, we'll go ahead and blow that. That should get me enough to do the next node. I'm going to prioritize getting all of the crit and attack nodes, right? Because that's like more important than the skill levels. Gives you more per investment. Purification. Okay, we just need 1. Unfortunately, I need to go in again. Okay, we'll get that attack node first. Then we'll activate the other one. Ravioli, ravioli, give me the Formuole. Yeah, man. I don't know. It's been a trip. Watching people lose their fucking minds over, oh my god,
We were the symphony of life. Life or death.
Arrows,
No alternative.
Tempest show. Mamma mia.
makes me kind of fucking crash out and want to say some shit I don't mean, you know? Weird, I have exactly 80. Well, let's just go for it. Fuck it. Kind of want to go in there and just see what people are fucking saying. There's been a lot of positivity too. A lot of people that have tried it and seem to like it, which is good. I like to see that, you know. Because, you know, I like to see people play good game and fucking talk about good game and talk about fucking lore and shit. Like how I used to nerd out over how fucking absolutely sick the end of Shadowbringers was in FF. Like, that was so good. Like, M itself, dude, the fucking Seed of Sacrifice, you get in there, and all of a sudden the music starts playing, and then you get the fucking, what is this, sorcery of Eld, but not of Heidelin's make? Oh, it's so good. And then the fucking, I am mankind's first hero, and his final hope, followed by the fucking LB4. And I was playing tank at the time, so I got to fucking do the LB3 as a counter. Oh, dude. I mean, talk about presentation. That was just so badass. And I had just read Berserk at the time because, you know, the author had died, and there was like a huge, like memorial that happened in FF where everyone was getting on their Dark Knights and doing the thing, and I had been sitting around fucking Old Daw reading Berserk, and so like I was seeing all of the parallels and all of the references to Berserk and all of the homages, like Innocence, like everything was so good. And then that happened, and it's like, oh my god, we're fighting Griffith and Weird Guts. I was literally playing Dark Knight Tank 2 at the time. Just, like, I play a bunch of classes, I just happened to be playing that then, and got to do the, like, you know, slice open the sky and make it bleed LB3. Oh, man, that was an experience, dude. That was insane. Even though I don't think the like combat gameplay of that game holds up, the presentation of that story, of that boss, of that experience was so insanely fucking cool. It felt so good. And there's just no denying it. I love shit like that. I love talking about shit like that with people who love shit like that. So, yeah, that's part of my frustration when people try to turn others off from trying out Wuthering Waves. It's like, I mean, I'm just at the point where, look, I'm gonna recommend it even if there's a risk, you know, like, well, so, like, I do and I don't recommend it, right? Like, I won't recommend it to people who I think there's a risk it will ruin their financial stability because they don't have impulse control or whatever. But at the same time, whenever I do that, whenever I try to not recommend it to somebody who doesn't have impulse control, on the one hand, part of me is like, yeah, I really wish they didn't have this monetization system, and it is kind of predatory and scummy. On the other hand, it kind of, like, I get kind of annoyed at the person who I can't recommend it to, because it's like, well, if you're supposedly a responsible adult, and if you weren't such an invalid, I would have another person to share a really cool experience, you know? Like, that's it's not entirely fair to them, right? Because maybe they aren't and maybe they wouldn't be. But at the same time, it's like, well, you know, I mean, throughout the years, like, I'm okay now, but throughout the years, like I talked about, I had to make a lot of tough calls. and make a lot of sacrifices to deal with a lot of situations to be financially responsible. So when I see somebody who doesn't want to try this or won't share the experience because they don't have enough personal responsibility to do responsible things and not spend irresponsibly, it makes me lose respect for them. It makes me feel disrespectful of them because, you know, if you're not responsible enough to be a fucking adult and not waste your money in copious amounts, you don't deserve to be treated like you're an adult. You know what I mean? Like, why am I having to treat this grown-ass adult like a child? That's the situation. Is like, on the one hand, yeah, I understand that the system uses psychology and tricks, and I do agree, like, all of that is predatory. And people should be made aware of it going in. At the same time, I should just be able to share an enjoyable experience with somebody who's supposedly a grown-ass adult, right? So it's like, yes, like the people who are like, oh, blame yes. But you should also kind of blame the person who you don't think can be responsible enough, or people who can't be responsible enough to do it, even though they're supposedly adults. Right? Because if people who were supposedly responsible adults didn't do this, gacha systems wouldn't be as profitable as they are. So it's a situation, it's kind of a chicken and egg situation, where it's like, yes, one comes from the other, but they just self-perpetuate. There's no good guy here. It's not like, oh, these just innocent, perfectly responsible adults were just minding their own business, and then this company came out of nowhere and turned them into irresponsible dummies who spend money without a single thought. Right? Like, no, they chose to do that. They had the tools at their disposal to do the thinking and do the responsible math and manage things that way, and then it turns out a huge chunk of them chose not to. At least that's what I like to believe, right? If you're a grown-ass responsible adult, you should be smart enough, right? Because if we like if I take the other, and you know, you could listen to me doom posting about how dumb people are and whatever, and say, oh, well, he just thinks everybody's bad. No, like, I get it. I'm dumb in a lot of ways too. Like I said earlier, no human being can be fully informed on everything all the time. The difference is I'm willing to say I don't know, instead of, you know, just projecting my opinion out there and saying, well, I'm definitively correct. No, I will say, if I don't know about something, I will say, yeah, I don't know for sure. I'll say, I don't know, or if I kind of heard something, I'll say, I don't know for sure. I don't know if it's true, but this is what I've heard. Right? But like, where am I going with this? Okay, so where I'm going with this is, like, you might think I'm the type of person who's just always negative, but no, I did specifically say earlier, like, yes, all of this is true, there are stupid people, but there's also wonderful, amazing, smart people, and I like to believe, you know, that the average person, like, I'd like to believe there's a 50-50 shot they'll be, like, smart, right? They'll do the smart thing. I like to believe at the average level you know, there's at least a 50-50 shot, and it only gets better from there, and then below there, it only gets worse from there, right? I think that's maybe... I think if that's an overly positive outlook, then we're in for a very bad time. And I think maybe it is a slightly overly positive outlook. I really do think of myself as maybe slightly overly positive about the potential future of humanity, but, you know, like, I have a vested interest in wanting the world to not be shit and awful. And if it's not true, if, like, the average person, let's say there's like even just a 75% chance that the average person does a really stupid thing and only a 25% chance, that means we're in for a rough ride, and I don't want that to be the case. And I don't necessarily think that is the case. So I think I'm generally, maybe not overly optimistic, but I think optimistic, or maybe even realistic about, you know, how responsible and capable people on average are. But yeah, it's like, I mean, again, gacha systems wouldn't be, like, all these people who complain about gacha systems, well, half of them are probably drivers of irresponsible spending for other profiteering, like $500 founders packs and shit. And I mean, they say, oh, it's gacha games, they're so bad. How many of them played Overwatch? How many of them played, like, Neverwinter, when it was giving away basically the gacha Gamba microtransaction crystals? How many of them bought, like, you know, the fucking 6-month sub WoW amount? How many of them bought all this shit and gave, you know, these big megacorps private profiteering off of innocent consumers? How many of them fed this, like, enshittification of games? But because it's a Gambus, but because it has a special name now, I mean, it's literally the same thing as what was in Overwatch. The loot boxes, it's when I say it's literally the same thing, it's not different. It's exactly a one-to-one. Right? They think, oh, well, I bought loot boxes. Well, that's fine. That's not gacha because it's not Chinese. No, it is gacha. That's what gacha means. That's the entire system. It's exactly the same. You buy a pack of random rolls that have, you know, I mean, Jesus Christ, there were literally discussions of the legendary drop rates having a pity system in Overwatch. I remember this before I had ever heard the term gacha. I mean, doesn't CS:GO or something have loot boxes with, like, the knife skins? I mean, wasn't there just a huge, like, crash because of the way they changed things out so that, like, the knives or whatever, the knife skins were worth nothing when people were charging thousands of dollars for them before? Like this kind of Gamba gotcha shit. But they pretend that because it's not Chinese, it's somehow not the same thing. Because it's not Asian, it's somehow not the same thing. It's like, no, you're just a stupid piece of shit, and you need to shut the fuck up because you don't have an opinion worth listening to. That's how I feel about these people. who only think it's bad when you use the Chinese word for it because it's a Chinese game. They only think it's bad when it's happening in a Chinese game, but when it's literally the exact same thing in a Western game, because it's called loot boxes, well, it's kind of somewhat okay now. And I mean, you know, sure, there are plenty of people who complain about loot boxes too. But a lot of these people are just genuinely so stupid that they think loot boxes are like somehow not as bad or not the same thing. Or that gacha is somehow worse. No, it's... You could just literally say it's loot boxes. I mean, what is this if not... Oh, it's a loot ball. It's not a loot box, it's a loot ball, guys. So it's worse. Oh no. Like, these are the same people crying. Man, I'm actually like fucking tirading so hard, I can hear my voice like dying in real time. Holy shit. Oh, God. So anyway. Bro. But I'm just so tired of people behaving like that in general. Not just about, like, this particular topic, this particular recent news relating to... But just, like, people do this... People behave like this about every single thing you could possibly have an opinion about. From, like, trivial, stupid bullshit, like, what toothpaste to use, to like, pivotal, world-shaking events and critical politics. Like, literally everything, people behave like this. They just have the most stupid, uninformed opinions. And disparage people who know way better than them. Because they're so dumb, they don't even understand how fucking stupid and uninformed they are. And they're always the loudest and most outspoken. And because the squeaky wheel gets the grease, because the loudest, most outspoken people get heard the most, you know, a lot of people who are otherwise of average intelligence, who would otherwise just kind of see something and maybe have a 50-50 chance of making a smart, informed decision, well, now they're gonna decide to do something stupid based on the voice of some dipshit who is loud and belligerent and overvalues their own opinion. Because they can't just say, I don't know. Which is, I mean, is it so hard? It's not even really that humble. Like, it's the barest amount of humility to just be like, on some subject you've literally never heard anything about, to say, well, I just don't know. Or even if you have like a general opinion on a general subject, like gacha in games, right? It's the easiest thing in the world to say, well, I think gacha in general is probably bad, and I've heard gacha games in general are bad, but I've never tried this. Like, it would be so easy to just have like the barest amount of humility and just say, well, I don't know about this specific thing. Like, it's so easy. It's so easy, but retards and stupid fucking pieces of shit have to decide and behave as though they're the smartest fucking people in the room because they're so insecure about how stupid and uninformed they are.
We'll improvise.
And the average person who just isn't going to spend the time to do any kind of thinking about it will just follow along with whoever sounds confident, because that's just how fucking humans are evolutionarily programmed, right? So you end up in this situation where you have a bunch of stupid, overconfident dipshits who don't know a damn thing about what they're doing.
Are we there yet?
I mean, it's the deaf leading the blind. Ugh. And it does. I just feel like I feel like it doesn't have to be that way, but the facts, apparently it does, right? I wish it didn't have to be that way, but the more I've learned throughout my life, the more I feel like it's it's overstating it to say I've studied human history, like I've gone out of my way to do fucking research and create fucking no, but I've spent enough time just learning about things and watching and listening to documentaries and stories about history and ancient civilization podcasts and things like that to understand that no, it's always kind of been this way, and that's just how human beings are designed. That's just kind of how we're evolved. It's kind of how civilization works.
Are we there yet?
And I do think that, like, the general quote of the arc of history is long but bends towards justice, progress, whatever you want to call it, is true, but it doesn't just shoot there, right? It bends there, and it is long, and we're not at the end of history, obviously. Not even close. I mean, we might be close to the AI singularity. I mean, from what I understand, like, current AI is basically glorified autocomplete, so... But then, you know, who's to say that that isn't something that could achieve a like, I don't know, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know. I see a lot of progress in the tools being made, but yeah, like the arc of human history, I think, unless something like that happens, unless there's like a sudden abrupt end, there's still a whole lot of arc left to go, and it's, you know, it's a parabola. It never quite hits the 0 point. It'll forever get closer and closer without ever actually hitting 0, without ever hitting perfection. Because, you know, I mean, there's really no such thing as I'm rambling again, but yeah.
Arrival.
Yeah, it's something. God, what am I even doing?
The tides have whispered of your arrival.
I did all these. The question is, should I do another run of her right now? Of Fleur-de-Lis right now, and get the last 3, and then try to do these level ups. I feel like I could probably spend my wave plates and get all that right now, but since I have limited shell credits, I'm low on tuners, it just feels like I might as well wait, because I'm not going to be able to do all the things I want to do to work on building Cantarella anyway. And guys, I mean, there is nothing for me to scrape from these maps. Like, I have completely burned all the content to grind to get this account. Like, I wish...
Absolute futility.
So it's a situation where, personally, from my perspective, there isn't enough content. But I understand that I chew through content like a rabid
The
animal.
approaching sounds be
And I've also been
beautiful
playing this
wails,
game, like,
rejoicing,
daily. Like,
symphony of
barely
life.
missed a login for pretty much ever since, like, 2.2. Which is, like, what? 6, 7, 8 months now? Maybe 9? So, I am, like, rampant, rabid consumer, right, for this game of content. I've just... Right. So, on the one hand, I want to complain there's not enough content for me, because I am unreasonable and irrationally want more, right? On the other hand, the fact is, they basically churn out entire new patches every 2 weeks. Usually with new explorable zones, new bosses, an entire new, like, hologram boss, new events.
Together.
I mean, the fact that we get so much content so consistently, like, no game studio could possibly produce on such a rapid schedule, on like a more rapid schedule, and produce quality